off that exhausting hamster wheel and into balanced living with Dr. Marissa.
Promise you joy in the mystery.
Dr. Marissa, also known as the Asian Oprah. Her mission, to be a beneficial presence on the planet. Her purpose, to be your personal advocate to live, laugh, love, learn. Her life motto, don't die wondering. Take back your life with Dr. Marissa Pei.
And welcome. You're tuned into Take My Advice. I'm not using it. Get Balanced with Dr. Marissa, the morning show here on KCAA, NBC News, CNBC News, NBC Sports Radio Station, AM 1050, FM 106.5, and streaming everywhere. iHeartRadio, Spotify, Stitcher, iTunes, TuneIn, Audible, Amazon Music, Tiki Live, Rumble, Podchaser, Streaker, Speaker, and more. I am your hashtag positively opinionated host. And as you can tell from who's in the studio, it is Wednesday. And I'm so delighted to have my fabulous Wednesday co-host, who is the co-host with the mostest. You saw her on the red carpet with me when she was my date on the Newport Beach Film Festival Chinese Spotlight Film. Dancing with me. You saw me with her on her 50th party. So, you know, I can't think of a better way to become friends with someone than to adopt them as a co-host. And then who knows what will happen. I'm kind of mad at her right now, though, because I'm going to go see a musical and she's away. But please welcome to my studio veteran, OBGYN. That's why it's Doctors in the House, author, playwright, children's book author, singer, songwriter. I'm sure I missed something. Back to the studio.
Always a pleasure to be with you, Dr. Marissa.
So where are you? Actually, let's just go into the breakfast so that you can tell me all of that, which is why sometimes I do this. We catch up with each other when we do our Take a Bite of My Gratitude sandwich. It's a good life habit, a hashtag Blisscipline that I do on the show for almost 2 years now, starting the show with my guests or my co-hosts with gratitudes on the top of the bun, things that we're grateful for. And then on the bottom of the bun, something we're going to model for you to do before you go to bed, which is gratitude turned inwards. What do you appreciate about yourself? So we'll start with the top of the bun. What are you grateful for, Dr. Tiffanie?
I am grateful that I am coming to you live from the San Antonio Laughlin Air Force Base because I am out here to watch one of my sorority sisters' sons graduate from the Air Force training. So I have had the privilege of flying safely out here, and I'm grateful for traveling grace and mercy. Hallelujah. Thank you, Jesus. And watch that ceremony.
Awesome. I am grateful that I have fresh towels that smell so good when I get out of the hot shower. There's 2 in the morning. And I love those moments where I can get out of my head and the routine or the things I thinking about it, actually be there in that moment to appreciate like things like fabric softener. There's 2. What are you grateful for?
Linen Sit is awesome, but I'm also grateful for the opportunity to be a dancing queen with you last week. That experience was absolutely fabulous. The ability to walk the red carpet, to be interviewed for the Newport Beach Film Festival, I completely loved it, and it was a once in a lifetime experience. Hopefully not to be a once in a lifetime experience, a first in a lifetime experience.
Well, you know, if my dating continues to go as it has been, which is 20 first dates, 1 second date, no third dates, you will be my date for things on the carpet. So yeah, that's the silver lining of not being attached is I get to bring my co-host to accompany me. There you go. I am grateful for Physical therapy. I'm still a little bit in pain from I now have not one, but two torn rotator cuffs. But my trigger finger, those of you on social who enjoyed the morbid needle going into my hand, the good news is my trigger finger with that, read between the lines finger is actually much better. So thank God, and I'm grateful for medical technology. And I'm sure that my shoulders will also be well soon.
And
One more.
I am grateful that my neighbors are okay. The night before I left, my neighbor's house caught on fire. It was an internal fire, and we don't know. It was something in their garage, and there was a lot of explosions, and I think their ammo caught on fire, and it was very bad. And everyone in the house was okay. And I was talking to the father, and we said at least it was just material possessions, and those things could be replaced, and no lives were injured or harmed. And so that was a true blessing, because we take for granted those small things, and it was just internal structures, but the external structure was okay.
Awesome. And I'm grateful. Well, I'm grateful that they're okay, but I'm grateful we're both wearing Go Dodgers blue this morning. I don't know if you did that on purpose. I did it on purpose, but I'm grateful that we're going to win tonight. And just, even though I want them to win in LA, if it's a toss up between them having to lose today and then come back, or just get it over with and win, I would like that.
Absolutely.
Did you watch the game last night?
Our hotel would not let us watch it. We watched snippets online, and with the fan trying to take the ball out of Mookie Betts' hand.
Right.
Cost us.
I hope he sues him, because he could have really hurt his hand in the glove, because he wasn't, his feet he was hanging, wasn't he? Because that's pretty high. I was very not happy about that. I was curious why they didn't replay it, because they did once.
I don't see why that fan wasn't ejected from the game.
Well, my mom and dad said they definitely would have been ejected, but I was kind of surprised they didn't come back and talk about it. So I'm so sorry, Mookie, that happened to you. Absolutely. But I hope that yeah. So let's go to the bottom of the bun, which is, what do I like about myself? And that is gratitude turned inwards. I'm grateful, especially to my honorable moniker, Oprah, for putting the spotlight on mental health. She's always been the pioneer to sort of humanize the news, or humanize the focus. And it's the good news is people are thinking about mental health, but the bad news is people are looking to things outside of themselves to feel better. And so I do this good life habit of, what do you like about yourself, so that we're not looking for love or approval in the wrong places. If we know what we're good at, 88% of the time, we're less likely to feel bad if we get criticized, or if something doesn't go right. And I'll start, because it's like fresh on my mind. I appreciate my ability to stand up for myself. I had that accident where someone hit me coming out of my garage, and the whole process has been not a great process. And depending on how today goes, I will name their name. But right now, it's still like I'm standing up for myself and saying, not only did I get, hit, and you're saying I'm 40% liable, and my insurance company is saying 0. And now, because they didn't get back to me, they're not even paying even if they paid me 100%, I'm still out of pocket, because I paid the repair place first. So happy. And this too shall pass, but I'm not taking it lying down. And so I appreciate my ability to when to hold and when to fold, right? I'm holding.
Absolutely. I appreciate my ability to protect myself and my peace, because a lot of times people will want to disrupt your peace. They will come at you with, let's say, nonsense. And you have to know, like you said, the Kenny Rogers song, know when to hold them, know when to fold them. But it comes with also terms in terms of emotional, let's say, nonsense and garbage. And you have to know when you want to take that garbage, and you're not necessarily anyone's garbage pail, and you can listen and be discerning and use that discerning spirit and know when you want to take on it and when you want to encourage, but you don't have to be anyone's garbage can. You have to protect your peace. And I'm learning, knowing when I need to protect my peace.
Yeah, absolutely. I appreciate my ability to be hashtag ageless. The picture on this side is 20 years old. The picture on this side is 8 years old. And I use this as a me, myself, and I. So I appreciate my ability to be ageless.
And you look good, honey.
Thank you. So do you.
Thank you, darling. And I appreciate the fact that I can be flexible with my time and discerning with my time. Like, I was able to fly out here and support my sorority sister and her son. But sometimes people want to pull at your time and you don't want to give up your time. And I can let my no be my no and my yes be my yes. And I am in control of my time, and I'm able to flex my time muscle. And I appreciate that about myself.
Awesome. Well, that's it for Breakfast with Dr. Marissa and
Dr. Tiffanie Tate.
On our very special series for Wednesdays. Doctors in the house. I hope that you continue this good life habit with or without me. I'm on every weekday morning, but we start every show this way so that you can sandwich your day in the most positive way. And now we are about to launch into the topic for the day, which is
managing mourning. And I don't mean your mourning, I mean your sorrow and your grief. And I picked this topic because we are approaching Dia de los Muertos, the Day of the Dead. And I have had a lot of people who have been experiencing grief, and I have had a lot of people who have been experiencing grief triggers. I have found myself providing a lot of counseling, even when I went to Washington, D.C. And I figured with the holidays coming up, that tends to be a trigger for quite a few people. And let's be proactive and talk about it on the show.
That sounds great. I just pulled it up because honestly, the one thing I love about my show is I love learning new things, and this is a holiday that I actually did not know much about. So I do like Wikipedia because it is not it's as unbiased as it can be. It's not always accurate because of the whoever puts in, but of I can be pretty sure that it's not red or blue, but there's actually more facts than not. I'd say they're 80% accurate. So Day of the Dead, I love the way you just pronounced that. I didn't realize you spoke Spanish, but that was awesome. It's traditionally celebrated on the 1st or 2nd, or sometimes the 31st or 6th, depending on the locality. Involves family and friends gathering to pay respects and remember friends and family who have died. They can take on a humorous tone, and amusing events and anecdotes about the departed. I love it. That's my Happy 88 tool, remembering them whole, and especially not in a morbid way, but a happy way. Widely observed in Mexico, largely developed, especially by people of Mexican heritage. That's awesome. I love that. I didn't know that. So there you go. So, and now let's go to you knew all of that, but I grew up in Canada, so I did not learn that when I was growing up.
Absolutely. And a lot of times when you pass by cemeteries, you'll see families going and they'll have picnics and balloons. It's more of a party atmosphere. But here in America, you'll see the same thing. But when we grieve, there's different ways that people approach grief. And I figured there are different ways that people can manage their mourning. And I wanted to give people tools about healthy grieving and healthy ways to support people who have had a loss, especially with the holidays approaching. Let's be proactive. That way we can encourage one another and lift one another up.
Mm-hmm. That's great. Great topic. I actually became known as a grief expert. I don't know if you knew this. The worst massacre in Orange County was the Seal Beach Salon shooting. And because I was in the library that day when all the loved ones were sequestered in the library, it's a longer story, but I'll just say that after that happened, and I was on, front page with an article that I had written about the experience of being in that room and the first encounter with raw grief. And they put me on TV and did a lot of speaking about this particular topic. So I'm also glad that you brought it up, because with the holidays, I know some people, it just breaks my heart when they say, I hate the holidays because, my loved ones aren't here. Or I can remember someone posting, I hate Father's Day. I hate, this day, it's the day that my dad passed, or all of that. And it's like, I did that too. I used to make a date with my friends to go out and basically cry the entire day, remembering my dad when he died of lymphoma. And so I know, me, I like to keep it real. That is certainly your right and prerogative. But I have so many people who come to me for coaching who say, I just cannot be happy again because so-and-so is gone. And so I know that I'm going to be giving a little bit of tough love. I know that Dr. Tiffanie is going to give you some tips on how to manage grief in this topic of Day of Mourning. We're going to take a quick break for news and traffic, but when we come back, we'll talk more about managing mourning. Thanks for joining us. Don't go away. We'll be back in 2 and 2. Chuck Woolery says that, but we say peace in and peace out. Don't go away. We'll be right back.
Take back your life with Dr. Marissa Pei.
And we're back. You're tuned in to Take My Advice. I'm not using it. Get balanced with Dr. Marissa, the morning show here on KCAA, NBC News Radio, home to the Asian Oprah, AM 1050, FM 106.5, the station that leaves no listener behind, #1 talk in the IE. Thank you very much. And streaming everywhere, especially my Show Central, which is my YouTube TV channel, where if you free subscribe, you'll get an alert every weekday morning to tune into the show about hope and happiness. And today is Doctors in the House with myself and
Dr. Tiffanie Tate.
and we are talking about
managing mourning.
Take it away.
Okay, so when it comes to mourning, you want to acknowledge your loss. A lot of times there are different phases of grief, and you won't necessarily go through those phases in order. A lot of times denial is one of those things. And so you want to accept that the person is gone. And you can confide in people, talk to people, and allow your emotions to come forward. Sometimes people say, "Oh, don't cry, don't cry, don't cry." I'm the exact opposite. I say go ahead and cry, because tears are normal and you need to let it out. When I went to Washington, D.C., I met a woman who had lost her life partner, and due to cultural reasons, they did not get married, but they had been together for maybe 15 years or so. And when she had lost him, she was very distraught, but she was holding it in. And I ended up spending about maybe 40 minutes counseling her, even though I had just met her. And it was a significant breath of fresh air to her. And I finished with a hug, and I let her know that I was there for her, even though I had just met her. And I think a lot of times people just need to know that you are there for them, and that it is okay to let it out, and that they don't need to hold it in.
Absolutely. I look at it as, I'm known for balance. And with grief, there seems to be two extremes. Either you cry all the time, the example I gave before, and they cannot seem to get out of that devastating feeling of complete loss and not being able to function anymore. And, 1 month it goes to 6 months to a year, and it's like they're dead walking, living, but not really living. That's one extreme. And just, I call it marinating in the grief. The other extreme is, I'm fine. I'm fine. I'm fine. I know they're gone. It's okay. I feel fine. Don't worry about me. And that is denial. And that is what I call, you're pushing it down. And when you push down grief like that, you push anything down with garbage disposal, the arm, you crush, solid goes into liquid goes into gas. And then next thing you know, you think you're fine, but really the gas is coming out. People smell it. You don't. And FINE stands for effed up, irrational, neurotic, and emotional. And so those two extremes, neither one of them are very happy making. And they're going to block you from claiming your birthright to happy 88% of the time. So as Dr. Tiffanie was saying, crying is good. I try to cry once a week because tears are the disinfectant that keep your heart soft. And certainly in the first month, to feel fully your grief is my formula is because if you don't deal with it, it will come back and deal with you later. So you don't want anything to get infected. So crying is good. Talking about it, maybe not so much. Not in that first week, certainly. Well-meaning people sometimes who say things like, oh, God must have wanted them, more than you did, or something stupid like that. I know people mean well when they say that, or, they're in heaven, which I will say, but I won't say it in the first week or maybe even first month, because it's okay and healthy to really hurt. And it shows that you're alive.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And actually, there are things that they recommend that you don't say to people when they're grieving. And those are some of the comments. You may think it, but that doesn't necessarily help the person. And, like they're in a better place. God wanted them more. All of those things don't necessarily support that person while they're grieving, because it doesn't necessarily help them. Because it is it's like a dagger or a knife that's just twisting in their pain. But while you're grieving, a lot of times you can focus on yourself and you can do some self-care practices. And we always talk about self-care. And self-care is really important, like eating healthy, making sure you drink enough water and hydrate, exercise, and use that energy to turn it into something to get rid of that extra energy that's negative and turn it into something positive to relieve some of that stress, because stress isn't anything that's good. And it's always good if you don't have friends to talk to your doctor. As a physician, I'm there. Talk to a therapist, like Dr. Marissa. You always have someone who is there who you can confide in. A PhD or an MD or even a physician assistant, those are like paid best friends. So there's always someone who you can confide in.
Mm-hmm. Thank you for that finger. We had someone give you the finger, not that one, but this one. And we love the fact that you're listening and reacting. If you'd like to share some of your questions or comments in the chat, we'd love to interact with you. You are tuned in to Take My Advice, I'm Not Using It. Get Balanced with Dr. Marissa, the morning show on KCAA, the station that leaves no listener behind, and our very special Wednesday series called Doctors in the House with myself and
Dr. Tiffanie Tate.
And we are talking about mourning based on recognizing the Day of the Dead. I just going off what you were just saying about words to say and words not to say. It reminded me of that day in the library when the salon shooting, the day of the shooting. And when I had first gone to offer my services, by the way, I am not on purpose a licensed therapist. I'm a happiness coach. I chose not to go that route because of my own BS belief systems. I don't think that healing needs to take a long time. So that's just my preference. So I just wanted to make sure I wasn't misrepresenting. But when I was there and I offered, they said, no, thank you, but we have grief counselors coming. And I said, no problem. As long as someone's there to support, I'm happy. And then through some weird what caught moments, what are the chances of that? I ended up being taken into the library. And when I was there, the grief counselors, and I'm not criticizing them, they're trained, this is what they do, but they had clipboards with things to say. And what I had written about that day is when it's the first day of grief, when a tragedy happens, when you lose someone, you don't really lose them, we know where they are, but in that separation, that first fresh pain, words almost are counterproductive. A hug, right? Looking in the eye, touching if they want it, offering your shoulder to cry on. That's it. That first day, talking of anything, well-meaning as it is not helpful that I saw in that situation. And certainly from my own experience, when I lost my dad, I didn't lose him, but when my dad passed from lymphoma, I know where he is. But I recently lost his youngest brother, my uncle. My kids lost their grunkle. And that first day is not the day to say anything. It's just the day to feel the pain. We all know that we come from love, we go to love. Everyone is in that better place once they die. It's not a horrible place. We know that from all the people who have died and come back. It's a beautiful, bright, warm, people don't even want to come back who have been declared clinically dead. But that first day is not the day to talk about that they're in the better place.
Absolutely. Yeah. And to keep it personal, my mother actually passed away on November 2nd. So the anniversary of her passing is approaching. And every anniversary, I mourn, but I don't stop living. And I think it's important when the anniversary of your loved one death comes around, you think about what they would want for you. And I use that to keep me going. And so I think it's important for everyone to find that internal strength. In the first day, it is important to be around people who love you, because that's what you need to propel you. You really need love. You really need support. So when you're looking for your tribe, that's what you need. You need people surrounding you who love you, who support you, who want to encourage you. And I think that when we were talking about things that you don't need to hear, what to say when a friend is going through a hard time. I'm so sorry for your loss. It makes sense to me that you might be feeling down at this time. I'll be here for you no matter what you're going through. There really are no words big enough to express how much tenderness I have for you right now. Those are some potential words of encouragement. You can say other things that could support your friend, or I love you, I'm here for you, call on me, whatever you need, I'm here for you. Everyone has their own things that they might say to be there for you. I can't tell you what to say. You know what you're going to say. But things that you don't want to say, you'll get through it. Be strong. You're tough. Because everybody is weak when they're in mourning. That's normal. Or, he bought this on themselves. She bought them on themselves. Nobody wants to hear tough love when they're sad, when they're going through it. So just have some compassion.
Absolutely. In time, I usually take my cues from the person. I think the biggest two that I go to all the time is, I'm here for you and I love you. That's it. That's all I say. Would a hug make you feel better right now? No problem. I'm here for a hug whenever you want it. So that's all I limit what I say in. Now, at a certain point in phase, when they are, when I see someone begin to take that, dive from normal, healthy grieving to the sadness on steroids into, the brink of depression, and really, going into that direction that I know is not healthy for them physically, mentally, emotionally. That's when I go to that thing that you were saying. What would that person want you to be thinking, doing, feeling right now, ultimately? And that way, it begins that turning process. That turning process is one that we don't learn about. It, we take our cues from our parents or whoever. We've watched them handle grief, and a lot of times, they do. Our parents do the best that they can. But I know that I worked with someone who, it was bad enough that he walked in on his father killing himself, but he was told never to talk about that again. And so 35 years, he never talked about it. Now, that is not the way to manage grief, obviously, because it, it's going to eat up at you. And that gas was coming out. Very successful, but midlife, that's what happened. So, what was the other thing? There was something really important, of course, that I was going to say, and now I forgot what it was. But I'm so glad you're with us. We're going to take a quick break right now to thank the sponsor of the show. Don't go away. We are talking about mourning and grief. Oh, I know what it was. I had told you that to mark my father's passing, I would, basically hold my friends captive as I basically cried the whole day. And what I've done to change that is, on the day that he passed, or on Father's Day, I will make a point to tell whoever's around me a funny or happy story about my dad to remember the best parts of him. Not the last day, not the last 8 months where he was suffering and hacking out a lung from lymphoma. I don't talk about that. I rarely think about that except when I'm using it as a teaching point. I focus and remember how incredible my life was when he was alive. And that's called remembering them whole. And it's a beautiful, I actually got to write him a book before he passed. He was suffering for about 2 or 3 months. The chemo treatments were not working. And I decided, instead of spending time with him feeling bad and asking him how he felt, which was always bad, writing a book, Lessons from My Dad. And I would read every chapter when I was sitting by his side of all the things that he taught me. And it was a beautiful time, that last 4 months before he passed. So I would encourage you, if you're with someone right now who is in hospice or, in that final, spend the time talking about all the things that you've learned from them. And it's a beautiful experience that I treasure when I remember my dad. We have a comment here. Welcome, Anthony. Oh, nope. It's an advertisement. But we're going to take a quick break right now to pause for news, weather, and traffic, and then to hear about Dr. Tiffany's books that she has going on before we come back on Take My Advice, I'm Not Using It. Get Balanced with Dr. Marissa, the morning show, and Doctors in the House with myself and
Dr. Tiffanie Tate.
Don't go away. We'll be right back.
Hi. If you'd like to see my books, please go to my website at www.drtiffanie, Tiffanie, Tate, Tate.com, and you will see all 4 of my books. They range from Floetry, 108 Poetic Flows on Life, Love, and Liturgical Issues, to Little Engine Mia Sings, which is a book about bullying, as well as Bad Touching, which is a book about inappropriate touching, as well as if you click on writings, you'll see Money Matters, which teaches children about saving and investing. All of these books are available on Amazon as well as Barnes and Noble, and you will enjoy them for your children, for a friend. You can pick them up. They will be shipped to you, and all of them can be yours anytime, any place. Check them out now. You hear?
Take back your life with Dr. Marissa Pei.
And welcome back. You're tuned in to Take My Advice, I'm Not Using It. Get Balanced with Dr. Marissa, the morning show here on KCAA, NBC News Radio, home to the Asian Oprah, #1 talk in the IE. Thank you so much. And the station that leaves no listener behind. And we are here. It is Wednesday. As you can see, you have my beautiful co-host on Doctors in the House with myself and
Dr. Tiffanie Tate.
And welcome to my cashew gallery, my play on words, of course, instead of peanut gallery. Lee Wilford, welcome to the show. Namaste to you as well. Anthony Chaucy is also here. Welcome to you. And we're talking about the Day of the Dead, and in particular, managing mourning. The first half of the show, actually, it's more than the first half of the show. We gave you a lot of different tips on how to manage mourning. certainly the blue holidays, or holiday blues as they are referred to, is we're doing a prescription today on how to stay out of the holiday blues. If you have any questions or comments about what we've said so far, or if you haven't listened to it, just go to my YouTube TV channel that houses all 1,258 shows, but who's counting? So grateful that I have gone beyond the 1 year that people predicted that a show that doesn't talk about anything that anyone else is talking about that is on the news right now, because I wanted to balance out bad news, which is 99% of the time what you're hearing everywhere else, with good news, good people, and great co-hosts. So, Dr. Tiffanie.
Okay.
Yeah. When
Okay.
people are, let's go to, we've talked about the start of the process when you've just lost someone, what to say, what not to say, things that are helpful, not helpful. If a person is still mourning, what time period, I guess ask this all the time, what is a normal or healthy time to mourn or to be sad, so to speak?
I love that question. I'm going to reply with this. You cannot put a time period on grief. Grief is the price of love. And you are going to grieve at different places and different spaces based on your relationship with the person. And if you lost a parent, a child, or a significant other, you're going to grieve longer versus someone who just lost a friend. And as long as you are still a functional part of society, you're still waking up, combing your hair, going to work, managing yourself, taking care of your responsibilities, you're grieving appropriately. If you stop being a functional part of society, managing your bodily activities, showering, brushing your teeth, managing your finances, then that's a malignant part of grief. If you're not taking care of yourself, taking care of your children, eating, that's a malignant form of grief. So I don't necessarily put a time period on grief, because grief is the price of love, and everybody's going to grieve differently.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's a great measure. It's not necessarily the time, but when the grief begins to interfere with your ability to love your life and to love others, and love yourself, that's when I call it getting infected. That's grief that's getting infected. And that will happen to many people when they don't deal with it and they shove it down, shove it down, shove it down. And they don't cry. Tears are the disinfectant. They keep your heart soft. Again, I'm so adamant that being able to cry and feel is so important, especially when you have reason to with grief. And if you don't, it's kind of like a dumbwaiter door. So those of you who don't know what a dumbwaiter is, I'm not criticizing waiters. It's a kind of a door, instead of doors that open one way like this, or, like this, they open like this. And that's how emotion is. And if you don't express the sadness or your frustration or your anger, and you just say, I'm okay, then you're also shutting the top end down, which is excitement, exhilaration, bliss, hope, wonder, creativity. Then that also comes up like that. And then you have, I'm okay, right? I'm fine, which I said what those letters meant before. So in order to feel really good and happy, you have to be able to feel really not good and not happy, but for a time, right? So you don't, if you're always here, that's also there's a psychological term when you're like bouncing up and down like that. That's not what we want either. But we do want you to feel fully, so that you're not limiting and walking around saying, I'm okay, I'm okay, I'm okay. Good. The flat line, even keel. I don't even like that expression, even keel, because life is not even keel. Bad stuff happens. No one is immune to loss. No one is immune. And I just heard the other day, one of the reasons why we have pets. Why do dogs have such a short lifespan? And I like the hypothesis. It's teaching us how to grieve and how to deal with loss. So, anyways.
Well, I know that, you said you wrote a book for your father. One of the ways that I grieve my mother, because Mother's Day can be a trigger, her birthday can be a trigger, and the Day of the Dead, the day she actually passed away, can be a trigger. I made a video, and on those days, I posted on my Facebook page. And it's a way that I can remember her, as well as my family members can remember her. And it's a good memorial tribute. So we all can look back and enjoy the good times that we had. So some of us might cry, or we might laugh, because my mother was a very lively character. And so it's a joyous, sometimes sad, like roller coaster, but overall it's a good day. And you can find a way to memorialize your person. Like when we were talking about the Day of the Dead, sometimes it's sad, sometimes it's joyous, and you will figure out how you want to remember your person, and you can turn that grief into whatever you want it to be. You have to tap into what's good for you, but you need to figure out how you can go on. What did your person who passed on, what would they have wanted for you, so that you don't get stuck in a rut? Because you're still here to keep living. So you have to find your purpose to go on, and you have to figure out how you can do that. I can't tell you how to do it. Dr. Marissa can't tell you how to do it, but you need to figure that out and figure out who you need to support you in doing that.
I love that. It also brings to mind, I love the expression, the celebration of life versus funeral, right? So I love when people talk about the celebration. I also really always wondered, you have this giant, beautiful celebration and this party, and you say all these nice things about this person who's no longer here to hear them. And so I also use the whole process as, does that person really know how I feel about them in a positive way? So that the only time that they hear it is when they don't hear it in their physical body anymore. So that's always when anybody dies, or I hear of a tragedy, the first thing I do, my blissipline is to turn and call or text or email someone who I haven't talked to in a bit, and just tell them how much I love them and something that I like about them, so that I'm never caught with my compliments stuck in my mouth. So that's a practice that I have all the time whenever I hear when someone passes. The other thing is, there's a beautiful practice that I would like to do when I am, I've told my kids already, I don't want to waste away suffering and losing all of my capacities. And I believe, this is my belief system, that I have the right to also say when, I want to go to the other side, because I don't want to suffer, and I don't want to make the people around me also suffer. And to have a celebration of life is a practice that I learned from Dr. David Simon, and he's the co-founder of Deepak Chopra Center. I mean, everybody knows Deepak Chopra, but they don't know much about Dr. David Simon. He was a neurologist who died of a brain tumor. And when he was in his very last stages, he had a celebration of life, literally, and gathered hundreds of us, I think thousands of us, down to Chopra Center and gave a talk about all the things that he loved about his life and the things that he what legacy he wanted to leave and wanted us to continue. He's the one that said, before you open your mouth, ask yourself 3 questions. Is it kind? Is it true? Is it necessary? And I bring that into all of my teaching as a way of honoring his legacy. So it's something to think about every time I hear somebody is dying. What is my legacy that I want to leave? What would I say in that celebration of life before I die? And he died, I believe, a week after that event. So he was still alive enough to give this beautiful talk to all of us. I treasure that for the rest of my life, and I'm carrying that legacy. Obviously, my legacy is you can choose to be happy 88% of the time. That's your birthright. You're loving, loved, and lovable, and you're wrapped in a warm blanket of worthiness if you allow it. So that's something to think about as we're talking about mourning.
Absolutely. And I think that it's appropriate to address it because, like you said, if you stuff it down, you have that bottle top experience, like the old-fashioned soda. You shake it up, it'll either spew out everywhere or you keep it bottled in, and then you get somatic issues like joint pain, increased stress, anxiety, and you just don't need that in your life. And I think it's important to make sure you have the support you need. Surround yourself with people who you can talk to, who love, and who you trust. And I think it's important to also, when you have people who you care about, give them their flowers while they're alive, so that you're not just giving them to a corpse, because you want to show that you care.
Yeah.
People you value. And I think it's important to make sure that you love on the people you love while you can love on them. And in this society, it's a me society when it should be a we society.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Great points. If you've just tuned in and wondering what's going on in studio, this is Take My Advice. I'm not using it. Get Balanced with Dr. Marissa, the morning show on KCAA, AM 1050, FM 106.5, streaming everywhere, station that leaves no listener behind. And as you can tell, in studio is my fabulous co-host for Doctors in the House with myself and
Dr. Tiffanie Tate.
And she is a licensed OBGYN MD. That's where the doctor comes from on her end. She's a medical doctor. I am a PhD, which just stands for piled higher and deeper. And that doctorate is in organizational psychology. We are here not to prescribe, but we are giving tips from our own experience for your edification that you can use them or not to, the whole point of this show is how to claim your birthright for happiness. And we're talking about mourning, a very important topic. Anyone who is saying right now, I hate the holidays, and a lot of people say it starts on Halloween and it just runs through January 2nd. And I'm not going to say those who say screw the diet and we're just going to eat until it's over. We are also suggesting that you don't hate this time, because honestly, if you hate the holidays, you'll never get this holiday back, ever. It's gone. So I would challenge anyone who is saying, I hate the holidays, becoming that green little Scrooge. I will say, make this holiday about other people's joy. You may not like the holidays, but I'm sure the people around you, there's at least one or two, especially when they're little, that they are absolutely looking forward to this. So for their sake, not yours. And then I will ask you too, the people that you're missing so badly, Did they love the holidays? My guess is they did. And I don't think they would want you to hate the holidays. So there's a little bit of tough love for you to go out with. Dr. Tiffanie, final word.
My final word is that in Matthew 5:4, blessed are those who mourn, for they shall be comforted. And my final word, Mimi, is only time and tears can take away grief, because that's what they are for. And just remember, you got this. You can do this. Support one another. Love one another.
Fantastic. Thank you for joining us today. You know the drill. It's all about balance, peace in, peace out, world peace through inner peace. Tune in tomorrow, Straight Talk with myself and James Hawthorne. Is tomorrow Halloween? Yeah, it is. Okay, we'll be celebrating Halloween. I'll get in some get up, but keep it tuned here. We're so glad you joined us. Now go and have the best day ever. Go Dodgers!